Mister, can I borrow a tree? Just for one night? For my mama? The small voice cut through the Christmas Eve cold like a bell. Sterling Mackenzie looked down from adjusting his daughter's scarf to find a tiny girl standing before them, no more than 3 years old, her mittened hands clasped together like a prayer. Her wide eyes held the kind of hope that breaks hearts. "Wren, sweetheart, what are you doing?" A woman hurried over, her cheeks flushed from the winter air, embarrassment and worry flickering across her face. She was young, 27 perhaps, with paint stains on her worn coat sleeves and eyes that carried a grief Sterling recognized instantly. "I'm so sorry," she said quickly, reaching for the little girl's hand. "She wandered off. We were just looking." They stood outside Sterling's company building, where a massive Christmas tree glittered in the lobby window, visible from the street. Sterling was 33, CEO of a tech firm, single father to 4-year-old Hadley after his wife had left them 2 years ago, without explanation or goodbye. He understood the particular loneliness of raising a child alone, of watching other families and feeling like something essential was missing. "I'm Sterling," he said gently, crouching down to the little girl's level. "And this is my daughter Hadley. What's your name?" "Wren," the girl whispered, clutching her mother's hand. "We don't have a tree this year. Mama says we don't need one, but Daddy loved Christmas trees." Her lower lip trembled. "He's in heaven now." The mother's face crumpled with barely contained emotion. "Wren, honey, please." "I'm Fallon," she said softly to Sterling, her voice thick with unshed tears. "Fallon Reeves. My husband, we lost him last Christmas, a car accident on Christmas morning. This year, I couldn't bring myself to decorate. It hurts too much. But Wren remembers how magical he made everything." She paused, swallowing hard. "I'm an artist. I paint, but commissions have been slow, and I spent what little I had on making sure Wren had some presents. A tree seemed unnecessary." Sterling felt something shift in his chest. Hadley, standing beside him, reached for Wren's hand instinctively. "Daddy doesn't like Christmas much either, because Mama left and didn't come back, but I like it anyway." The simple honesty of children. Sterling met Fallon's eyes, seeing recognition there. Two people trying to survive holidays that had become landmines of memory. "The tree in our lobby," Sterling said slowly. "It's there for everyone to enjoy. But," he paused, an idea forming, "what if you could borrow one, a real one, for your home, just until after Christmas?" Fallon shook her head quickly. "No, I couldn't possibly." "Please," Sterling interrupted gently, "consider it a loan between people who understand that sometimes Christmas needs a little help to feel magical again." What Sterling didn't mention was that Fallon's face had been stirring something in his memory all evening. That slight profile, those expressive hands. And then it clicked. She looked remarkably like Jade, his best friend from college. They met once a year for coffee, catching up on life's complexities. Jade had mentioned her younger sister, an artist who'd lost her husband last year. Could this be her? "Fallon, do you have a sister named Jade?" Fallon's eyes widened. "Yes, Jade Reeves Canton. How do you—" "I'm Sterling, her best friend from college. We still meet every year." The recognition swept across Fallon's face like dawn. "Are you Sterling? Jade talks about you constantly, about how you've stayed friends despite everything life has thrown at you both." She laughed softly, incredulously. "What are the odds?" "In a city of millions, apparently pretty good," he smiled. They exchanged numbers, and Sterling arranged for a beautiful 7-foot tree to be delivered to Fallon's apartment the next morning, Christmas Day. But that night, lying awake, he kept thinking about Wren's small voice asking to borrow a tree, about Fallon's paint-stained coat and brave smile, about Hadley's instant connection with another little girl who understood loss. Christmas morning arrived with fresh snow. Sterling and Hadley delivered the tree themselves, along with boxes of ornaments, lights, and, without telling Fallon, an envelope containing a year's worth of rent, quietly arranged through her landlord. When they arrived, Fallon opened the door with tears already streaming. "You didn't have to do all this," she whispered. "I know, but sometimes what we don't have to do is exactly what we need to do." As they decorated the tree together, Wren and Hadley giggling, hanging ornaments with serious concentration, Fallon showed Sterling her paintings. They covered the small apartment walls, vibrant and alive with emotion, landscapes that seemed to breathe, portraits that captured souls. "These are extraordinary," Sterling said honestly. "Why aren't they in galleries?" "I've been trying, but since Daniel died, I lost my confidence, lost my connections, lost myself a bit." Sterling pulled out his phone. "I know 3 gallery owners personally. Would you let me make some introductions?" Fallon stared at him, disbelief and hope warring on her face. "Why? Why would you do this for someone you just met?" "Because Jade is my best friend, because your daughter asked to borrow a tree, and that took more courage than most adults have, because, Sterling paused, watching Hadley and Wren playing together, "because kindness isn't a transaction, it's a gift, and the only proper response to a gift is to give one back." 3 months later, Fallon's paintings hung in a prestigious downtown gallery. The opening night was packed, her work selling beyond her wildest dreams. Sterling stood in the crowd with Hadley, watching Fallon glow with pride and nervous excitement. Wren twirled in a new dress, holding Hadley's hand. "Mr. Sterling saved us," Wren announced to anyone who would listen. "He let Mama borrow a tree, and it brought back Christmas." But it was more than that. Through the gallery connections, Fallon had steady commissions now. Through the friendship that grew between families, both Sterling and Fallon found their children had companions who understood loss and healing. Through weekly dinners and shared holidays, they built something neither had expected, a chosen family. Jade, watching them all at Fallon's gallery opening, pulled Sterling aside. "You know what you've done for her, don't you? Given her back her life, her art, her hope." "I did the same for me," Sterling said quietly. "I'd forgotten how to see Christmas as anything but painful. Wren reminded me it could be magical again, that we get to choose how we carry our grief, whether it buries us or teaches us to see what really matters." The following Christmas Eve, they stood together, all of them, outside Sterling's building, looking at the massive Christmas tree in the lobby window. Wren, now 4, and Hadley, 5, pressed their faces against the glass, marveling at the lights. "Remember when I asked to borrow a tree?" Wren said, looking up at Sterling with those wide, trusting eyes. "I remember," Sterling smiled, crouching down. "Can I tell you a secret?" she whispered. "Always. I didn't really want to borrow it. I wanted to borrow the magic, the feeling Daddy used to make." She paused, her small hand finding Sterling's. "And you gave us that. You gave us magic that stays." Sterling's throat tightened with emotion. Fallon stood beside him, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. Not tears of grief this time, but of gratitude, of new beginnings. "Your daddy would be proud of you," Sterling told Wren softly, "and so would Hadley's mama, wherever she is, because you both taught the grown-ups something important." "What?" both girls asked in unison.
"That the best gifts aren't the ones we buy," Sterling said, looking at Fallon, then at Jade, then at his daughter. "They're the ones we give from our hearts, the kindness we show strangers, the hope we choose to keep alive even when it's hard, the way we let people borrow our strength until they find their own again." Fallon reached for his hand, squeezing gently. "Thank you," she whispered, "for seeing us when we needed to be seen." "Thank you," Sterling replied, "for reminding me that sometimes the greatest thing we can do is simply say yes to someone who asks for help." They stood together in the falling snow, 2 families made whole not by romance or circumstance, but by the simple, transformative power of human kindness, the kind that starts with a child asking to borrow a tree and ends with everyone finding home. In a world that often rushes past the moments that matter most, remember this: small acts of kindness create ripples that change lives in ways we can't imagine. When someone asks for help, especially when it comes from a place of genuine need, choosing to say yes can restore not just their hope, but your own. Be the reason someone believes in magic again. That choice changes everything. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.